Chapter 1 of The Diary of a Birthday Doll by Ethel DOW. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. It's Monday night, and I suppose it must be about 8:30 o'clock. For just half an hour ago, I heard Grandma Ellis call up to the nursery, where Mama Lucy was busy kissing Maud and Gladys. Finish saying good night to your dolls, and then the nurse will put you to bed. You know it is your bedtime, dear. Maud and Gladys told me only today that Mama Lucy's bedtime is always 8 o'clock, excepting on her birthday, when Grandma Ellis gives her another hour as an extra birthday present. And poor Mama Lou is always so sleepy that she can only use half of it. Mama Lucy must be in bed now, and Maud and Gladys are fast asleep, for their heads are bent back the least little bit. They were made that way. I hardly believe that I would like to be a sleeping doll. It must be so very unpleasant to have to go to sleep whether you're sleepy or not. It would make me quite dizzy, I know, to be clicked out of conversation, and then suddenly clicked into a conversation without any warning. Sometimes 12 or 20 times in 1 hour. And so much sleep must make a doll stupid, though I wouldn't say a word against Maud and Glads, who have been very kind and polite to me. Besides, I must not forget that I would have been a sleeping doll myself, if it hadn't been for the accident that happened to me when I was quite complete, and most likely I'd be much happier now if I were what I was intended to be. Indeed, I am not at all happy, though no one could tell from my face, for one of the first duties that a doll has to learn before she goes out into the world is to keep all the same calm, quiet expressions through all sorrows and all joys. Everything is quiet and dark now. I wonder if my Mama Lou is dreaming. I wonder if she's dreaming of me. Silly child that I am. Of course she isn't. Didn't she say that she didn't like me the very first minute she saw me? Haven't I been here for 2 whole days and 3 long dark nights? And has she given me so much as a goodnight kiss? If she's dreaming of anyone, she's dreaming of Gladys and Maud. Oh, Gladys and Maud, how lucky you are! I wonder if you appreciate your good fortune, but I'm not the least bit jealous. I'm not. It's horrid to be jealous. Only, I wish Mama Lou would love me too. If I were a little girl made of flesh and blood, and feeling as sad as I do now, I'd be crying out loud this very second. But I'm only a bisque doll, made of hard plaster, and there's not a single drop of water in me to spare for one little tear. Anyhow, it would be quite impossible for a real living girl to have my troubles, because there's not a single child in this wide world that isn't loved and hugged by its mother, while my mama, oh, I hate to say it, but really and truly, and Maud and Gladys think so too, Mama Lou is not so sweet and kind to me as she might be. It certainly is dark and quiet here in the nursery. I have nothing to do but just lie flat on my back and stare up at the ceiling and think and think and think. I wonder if it could be possible for a teddy bear to get wild in the nighttime and break out of the little trunk that my Mama Lucy has locked him in. Oh dear, I wish I had thought of that. I'm really getting frightened. Wouldn't it just be dreadful? I wish I could wake Maud and Gladys. I'm awful scared lying here in the dark. He might catch me by the hair and scratch me with his claws. Oh, but he is too much of a gentleman to be so rude. I'm sure he is. Teddy, aren't you too much of a gentleman to scratch me? Teddy, I'll just ask him to make sure. Teddy. He won't answer me, and I'm so much interested in him. Mama Lou isn't kind to him either. Poor Teddy. Teddy bear. No, he won't answer. Gladys and Maud told me today that he would never speak. But if he knew how miserable I am, I'm sure he'd, Teddy. No, he won't answer. And I've just got to lie here lonely and think. I wonder how I'd be feeling right now if I hadn't had that accident before I was complete. It certainly was careless of that girl over at the factory to give me one blue eye and one brown eye instead of a pair of the same color. How all the girls working with her laughed when they saw me. That was my first embarrassment. I get hot all over whenever I think of it. I was supposed to have eyes that would open and close, but by the time she had corrected her mistake and fixed me with a decent pair of blue ones, she had poured so much mucilage into my head that my eyes were stuck in tight forever. I was rather confused at the time, and didn't quite know what was happening. It was only a long time after, lying in the darkness of a narrow cardboard box in the toy store, thinking, and waiting to be sold, that I understood. The girl had changed my character completely. Instead of an aristocratic sleeper, I had become an ordinary wide-awaker. Not that I mind it in the least, and I'm sure that a sleeper cannot be nearly so clever as a wide-awaker. But when I'm lying here all alone in the dark, I sometimes think that it would be sweet to close my eyes for a second, just forget that I'm a mistake, and that my Mama Lou does not love me. And she would love me if I were a sleeper. She as much as said so when she first saw me. It was last Saturday, wasn't it, that Mama Lucy's Uncle Harry bought me and took me away from the store. He is my great Uncle Harry Ellis. Of course, though, I didn't know the relationship, nor his name then. I was glad to get away, even though I had had quite pleasant times there, because I'm always anxious for something new. I could always hear what was said, and oh, the funny remarks that I did hear. I'll have enough to do for the rest of my life, just remembering the odd things that had happened in the store. It was about 7:30 in the evening when I heard Uncle Harry's voice saying, "I'll take a doll, please." "Yes, sir. Blue eyes or brown eyes? Which style would you like me to show you?" "Oh, any doll will do. Blue eyes, I guess. You needn't bother about showing it to me. I don't intend to nurse it myself. Just wrap it up for me, and that will do. All dolls look alike to me." I heard a laugh and the storekeeper's answer. "The young ladies managed to find quite a difference, sir." And just as I was wondering who would be chosen, I was whisked, box and all, off my shelf, and Uncle Harry was carrying me, head downwards, at a quick trot in the cold night air, away to my new home. I was quite dizzy at the end of a few minutes, and nearly fainted before the walk was over. How strange it is that people cannot understand that carrying a doll upside down upsets her stomach dreadfully. Now, Uncle Harry, Maud and Gladys told me, is supposed to be very clever, and is even going to be a doctor next June. Yet for over 10 minutes, he persisted in swinging me by the feet. A nice doctor he'll make, but I'm not angry at Uncle Harry. He's only one of those dozens and dozens that think a doll has no feelings. No feelings! Ha ha! Oh, Mama Lou, maybe you think I have no feelings. Last Saturday night, when you clapped your hands with delight at Uncle Harry's jolly news, I bought you a doll, Lucy, and then sobbed as soon as you had seen me. Oh, I don't like her. Look at the funny eyes she's got, and she can't even close them. I don't want a doll that's not a sleeper, Uncle Harry. And oh, she's not a bit pretty. I have no feelings? I have no feelings? If you had only known how I felt. Lucy's mama, my Grandma Ellis, said sharply, "Shh, Lucy, that isn't nice of you. If you talk like that, you will hurt your Uncle Harry's feelings." Grandma Ellis is very sweet, but it never struck her that Mama Lou was hurting my feelings. Oh, nobody ever think of a doll's feelings. "And she has no clothes," Mama Lucy screamed. "I don't want a dolly that has no clothes." "That's right," said Uncle Harry. "She has no clothes. I never noticed that." Then I took a peep around the room and saw him standing by the fireplace, scratching the back of his neck and looking very red and foolish, even though he is so clever and that he will be a doctor by next June. I saw Grandpa Ellis, a very handsome man, about 30 years old, laughing in a corner and shaking his finger at Uncle Harry, and Grandma Ellis, a sweet-looking woman with golden hair and blue eyes, who was holding me on her arm and my Mama Lou on her lap, saying, "Why, she's a mighty pretty doll, Lucy. Now don't be naughty. Go over to Uncle Harry and tell him that it was very sweet of him to think of you. Go over, dear, and thank him nicely." And then my dear Mama Lucy cuddled her head into Grandma's neck, just the way I'd like to cuddle into my Mama's round, white little neck. Sniffed 3 times. Oh, she's got the cutest little turned-up nose to sniff with. Went very, very slowly over to Uncle Harry, said, Thank you, Uncle Harry. I guess. Thanks, Uncle Harry. And then she ran very quickly over to her papa, and he took her on his lap and kissed her. Mama Lou went to bed in about 10 minutes after that, and she carried me upstairs into the nursery, in the long, dark box. How I felt that Saturday night! I wouldn't want the meanest little doll on earth to feel 100th part as sad as I felt, not even for the 100th part of a second. It's not my fault I have queer eyes, I sobbed. Please don't be angry at me, Mama Lou. And again in the darkness of the box. Please don't be angry at me. I'm so sorry I'm a disappointment. Let me see. Yesterday was a Sunday, wasn't it? And it was yesterday that I had that unpleasant bath. I was just saying, I'm so sorry for maybe the 50 millionth time you can say please don't be angry at me. A great many times in one night, if you keep at it steadily and don't take too many long breaths between, when suddenly I felt the lid of the box being taken off. A beam of sunlight flashed into my eyes, and I saw my darling Mama Lou in her, without a petticoat, looking down at me. Oh, but I was glad for the moment that I wasn't a sleeping doll, for had I been, and lying flat on my back with closed eyes, I couldn't have seen her so quickly. She took me around the waist and looked at me very carefully and said very, very slowly, "Well, I don't think you'd be so bad if only you wouldn't stare so. Now listen, Dolly, I'm going to call you just Dolly until I make up my mind what your name is going to be. We are all going out to Grandma's today. My great-grandma," I said to myself, "and I want to take you along with me to see how you behave in company. I'll ask Gladys to lend you her pink ribbon and pink dress, and I guess I'll give you a bath." Gladys, I thought, who's that? She put me back in the box, and I was quite happy. Of course she's going to love me, I said to myself. She was sleepy last night and didn't know what she was saying. She's so sweet, and she loves everybody, I'm sure. I couldn't see anything except a patch of ceiling just over my head. But I heard the rattling of porcelain bowls and the splash of water and the opening of drawers, and Mama Lou saying, "Oh, Nurse will be angry that I've wet the carpet," and the plushing of chairs, and I guessed that Mama Lucy was preparing a bath for me. It must have been very, very early. Even the servants weren't up yet, for excepting the noises that Mama Lou had made, the house was perfectly still. Soon she came up to me with a towel tucked about her waist, saying, "Oh my, that bowl was heavy. Now, Dolly, don't cry. Take your bath like a lady." Cry? I was too happy to say a word. She picked me up and threw me over her shoulder, carried me over to my tub, a bowl half filled with water, resting on a great green wooden chair. And then I'm not in vain, and I'm not so perfectly wild over clothes as some dolls are. But at that moment, I almost fell out of my mama's arms in delight, for hanging over the back of the great green chair was the sweetest pink Mother Hubbard dress, with white frills at the neck and sleeves. And oh, how often I have longed for just such a neat little gown. Mama Lou slipped a pink ribbon under some of my hair and tied a bow. It's not nice to be in vain, but I certainly did feel proud. Then she held me up in front of her, screwed her mouth towards the right side, half closed her right eye, and said, "You'll do. Pink is your little girl's color, that's certain." Whatever did she mean by that? Maybe the dressmaker or nurse once said to Grandma Ellis about my Mama Lou. 1, 2, 3. My mama kept on, and indeed I listened carefully. In you go into the tub, and in a second, from ribs to knees, I was covered in icy water. She threw me in so quickly, and the shock was so great that I couldn't help splashing, and great drops fell onto her bare little legs. "Oh, you naughty," she cried. "Ah, it's cold!" She let go of me suddenly to stretch out her hand for the towel. Of course I lost my balance. I haven't had much practice at sitting, and toppled right over. My hair dipped deep into the water, and my silk ribbon, my pretty pink silk hair ribbon, got soaking wet. "Oh, oh," cried Mama Lou. "You naughty child, what have you done? There's poor Gladys' prettiest ribbon just ruined. That's not the way to make your sisters love you. to go and spoil the pretty ribbons that they lend you? I'm surprised. I'm simply surprised at you, and I'm awfully afraid that you're going to be a naughty child. Oh, how ashamed I did feel. But it really wasn't my fault. I was not to blame. Was I, if I hadn't been taught to sit up like a lady? Do I think my mama needn't have scolded me quite so much, because it was bad enough for me to know that my very first ribbon I ever put on was simply ruined, and to feel my hair all grumpy and pasty sticking out of my wet neck? If it hadn't been for the peeps that I got from that pretty pink Mother Hubbard, I'd have felt perfectly miserable. I don't know what to do with you, said Mamma Lu very strictly, but I suppose I'll have to forgive you. Now do sit up and behave yourself, and if you get some soap in your eyes, just remember that soap in the eyes is good for the stomach. Nurse says so. And don't complain. Sit still and don't wriggle now. There. And in a second, I was quite blinded with some soft, biting stuff rubbed all over my face with a sponge. I had just got my breath back enough to cry out, "Please, Mamma Lu, please hurry. Oh, this is simply awful. Please hurry, please, please," when I heard the opening of a door and a scolding voice. "Miss Lucy, I'll tell your mamma on you. What do you mean by getting out of bed at this hour and messing up the nursery? And not a blessed thing on. You'll catch your death of a cold." Now this wasn't quite true. Mamma Lu had shoes and stockings on, and a shirt and a towel, and ever so many other things. I was the one that was in danger of catching my death of a cold, though, of course, no one ever thought of me. It's the trial of my life, being your nurse, I tell you. And then the nurse, a big girl, not all sweet or pretty, rushed up and shook her finger about 20 times a second, so close to my dear mamma's cute nose that if the finger had been the least bit longer, there would have been an awful collision, I'm sure. "Look at what you've done to the chair," cried the nurse. "The soap's gone and taken all of the paint off the seat. No wonder that soap is mean enough for anything," I thought. "And see how you've splashed the carpet. Well, I never. Now you just stand there and don't budge till I come back with a cloth to wipe it up, and take care that you don't get into any more mischief." And she bounced out of the room. I peeped up at Mamma Lu. Dear Mamma Lu, she was almost crying. One finger was stuck deep in her mouth. "I didn't mean to do anything wrong," she mumbled, not very plainly, because the finger blocked the words. "And you shouldn't scold so. You're a mean old thing, so there." Then she turned me. "And you're a mean old thing too, and I'm not going to take you with me to Grandma's. You don't know how to behave yourself." Well, I never was so shocked in my life. What had I done to Mamma Lu? She rubbed the soap quickly off my face, and then, "I'm going to put you in your box for punishment, till tomorrow morning, and see to it that you don't get into any more mischief. You're a terrible trial," she said, all wet and shivering as I was, and without giving me a chance for one last peep at the gown I was not to wear, she hurried me into my box and clapped the lid on. "Oh, Mamma Lu," I said again and again and again. "I didn't mean to do anything wrong. You know it's not my fault. But I don't call you a mean old thing, because you just didn't think what you were doing. Oh, that pretty dress, what a disappointment. Mamma Lu, how could you treat me so?" And all day long I lay and thought, "Oh, Mamma Lu, how could you?" That happened yesterday, didn't it? And today, oh yes, today Mamma Lu took me out of my box and introduced me to Gladys and Maud. They sleep in one bed, and she put me between them. "To get acquaintanced," she said. That was thoughtful of Mamma Lu. Maud and Gladys are really very sweet-tempered, and no wonder that Mamma likes them. She propped them up on pillows to keep them awake, and from 8:30, when she left for school, till 2:30 when she came home, those girls did nothing but talk. I know everything about everyone. My, what heaps and heaps of stuff they didn't rattle off into my ears, and I was feeling so sad all the time, just because Mamma Lu had kissed them before she left, and had only said, "Now be good," to me before a goodbye. Even Gladys and Maud thought it was rather mean of her, and I must say, oh well, it's not nice to complain. and I tried hard not to feel hurt when she tucked Maud and Gladys in so lovingly tonight and said to me, "Now be sure you don't disturb them." She stayed in the nursery only a short while after school, and just ran in after supper again to say good night. "I have a cold," she told us, "and Mama wants me to stay near her all the time to be sure that I don't catch another. I do hope that the water I splashed on her yesterday didn't give it to her. Poor Mama, her little nose was very so red and swollen. I believe that I'm tired of thinking. I wish Teddy," but there was no use calling him. I'm sure he won't answer. "Teddy, Teddy," I say, "Teddy." No. Oh dear. I think I'll begin to count to make the night pass quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. End of chapter 1. Chapter 2 of The Diary of a Birthday Doll by Ethel DOW. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. I was just saying 998,635,333 when Mama Lou walked in to say good morning, and I had reached 998,635,317 before I could stop. When you have been counting steadily as I had, all night long, you get to have a tight, wound-up sort of feeling, and it takes a few seconds before you can roll back and stop. Well, looking back over the day, I can say that, on a whole, it went fairly well. It was interesting anyhow, and started out beautifully. When Mama Lou came in this morning, she rushed to the bed in which Maud and Gladys and me— oh dear, there's my grammar gone wrong. I really must be more careful. That will never do. In which Maud and Gladys and I made one big armful of us and hugged all of us together. It is true, meanwhile, Maud got a bump from the right side of my head, and Gladys from the left, while I could count a bump from each share. But Maud and Gladys were still 3/4 asleep, and didn't feel the knock, and I count 2 bumps, a very, very cheap price for a hug from my dear Mama, though they were a little painful, I must say. "You dears," she shouted, "I've got such an awfully bad cold that I can't go to school today. Mama says so. Oh, oh, oh!" And then she picked me up out of bed and positively kissed me, just on the nose. "It's through you that I've got to stay home," she whispered into my ear. "That cold water you splashed on me Sunday gave me a cold, you darling. There, I always thought that my Mama Lou was an angel, and now I have perfect proof. She has a red, swollen nose through my clumsiness, and had to stay away from school. Think of that! And she's not only forgiving me, but even calling me darling. She certainly is I don't know what to call her, sweetness. She kept on petting me so sweetly. You poor child, you haven't even got a nightie on. I'll fix you all right, though. I'm going to have a tea party to celebrate. And I'll dress you in Maud's best blue dress and ribbon. Now, how will that suit you? Maud won't care, will you, Maudie?" And Maud, who is a very sweet-tempered, didn't object the least. I believe I like her even better than Gladys, though Gladys, too, is a perfect lady. I must say that both girls have been very nice to me, so far about clothes. They told me yesterday, in our long talk together, that I can count anything they have as mine, until I get fitted out, and they have never made any of the slighting remarks that lots of dolls would have made. I'm sure about the miserable condition in which I entered into their family. Imagine, I hadn't a stitch on my back. Gladys indeed said once, but I'm sure it was only a thoughtless remark, and in no way indeed to hurt my feelings, so I won't repeat it. No, I won't think of it. I won't. Well, Mama Lou took me on her lap and began to dress me, and I certainly enjoyed myself. That blue dress of Maud's fitted me perfectly. She has just my figure. But though it is very handsome, I didn't like it as much as that sweet little pink Mother Hubbard of Gladys. I certainly do like a neat little dress. I had a blue ribbon in my hair, too. Maud was all in white and Gladys in pink, my pink. It took all morning to wash and dress me. Thank heavens my stomach must have been all right this morning, because Mama Lou didn't put soap into my eyes to cure it. Gladys said that she and Maud get the medicine only when Mama Lou's left foot steps out of bed before her right. I wanted to know on which side Mama Lou generally slept, and Gladys giggled, and Maud looked shocked. I really think that Gladys is a little spiteful sometimes. We were just about dressed when Mama Lu was called down to dinner. Now be good, and don't muss yourselves, she warned us before going. I don't want to have to dress you again for the tea party. And then she laid us very carefully across the bed. Maud and Gladys went to sleep at once, of course, but I, as always, was wide awake, very happy and excited. Then I thought of Teddy, all alone in his box, with no pretty blue dress on and no ribbon in his hair, and I felt so sorry. "Teddy," I called, "Teddy, Teddy, won't you speak to me? I'm a new child of Mama Lucy's. I've been here only 3 days, and up this morning. I've been so miserable. You'd have been sorry for me if you'd known, Teddy. If you want me to, I'll tell you all about it. Oh, I wish you'd answer. We are all going to have a tea party this afternoon. I wish you were invited, Teddy. Can you answer? Teddy? Do you hear me? Oh, you are the most provoking." And I just made up my mind, then and there, that I wouldn't bother any more about him until he began to talk to me. He needn't have been so stiff. Mama Lu came running up very soon to arrange the table and chairs to prepare the tea. I was so glad that I wasn't a sleeper, because I expected to have heaps of fun watching her get things ready. "I'm having such a good time," she said, running over to us. "I just wish that I had a cold every day." I was so rather glad then that Gladys and Maud were asleep and couldn't hear her, because of course she didn't really mean what she said. It's bad enough to have to miss school for one day, indeed. I'm quite sure she was just pretending, so that I shouldn't feel too sorry that I had given her the cold. Dear Mama Lu, 1 whole banana I've got for hash, and 14 white grapes to make the grape tea with, and half of a great big orange, and 6 5 o'clock teas, and 4 Nabiscos. My mama clapped her fat little hands with joy. Now aren't we going to have a glorious time? I guess I'll make the tea first. And she sat down on a little rocking chair next to the bed, and began to squeeze great big hothouse grape into a beautiful little porcelain pitcher, painted all over with violets. Then I could hardly believe my eyes at first, and thought that I was seeing queer things because of that accident before I was complete. But I saw only too well. And oh, how Grandma Ellis would have felt if she had been there, for it is such an unladylike, greedy thing for a little girl to do. Why then, Mama Lu actually chewed the skins. I was very sorry. I hadn't expected it of her. Somehow it took away a bit of the pleasure of the tea party. After the grape tea, my mama made banana hash. And very nicely indeed did she make it, chopping it into little squares, mashing it into paste, moistening it with milk from another sweet violet pitcher, and sprinkling cinnamon and sugar all over it, till I'm sure it must have had a splendid taste. I didn't eat any of it. She mashed her finger only once, too, during all that time, and then she didn't cry either. Oh, my mama's all right. Indeed she is. In about 20 minutes, we're sitting around the tea table. Mama Lu in her little rocking chair at the head, and Maud and Gladys and I in little high-backed chairs. "Now wasn't it nice of Nurse," said Mama Lu, "to give us so much for our tea party? If Mama had been home, I couldn't have had a banana. I'm certain sure I couldn't. Now if you all behave yourselves, we'll have a real good time. I do hope Nurse forgets about my cough medicine. It's such nasty stuff, and I've got to drink a whole bottle full." She screwed up her little face and wagged her red tongue up and down, and then cried, "Oh my, that's not manners, and this is going to be a real elegant tea party. Maud and Gladys, you are the ladies, and Dolly's my little girl. Now, Dolly, don't forget that children must be seen and not heard. Miss Maud, won't you have some grape tea? This is simply fine. I'm sure you'll like it, if only you try it. That's right, just help yourself." And with that, Mama Lu swallowed a great cupful of tea. Uncle Harry gave her the dishes, Maud told me. It's a good thing that we dolls never have an appetite, for we certainly didn't get anything to eat at the tea party. It was like this all afternoon. "Now, Miss Gladys, you mustn't say no. That banana hash is very good. Yes, I can't complain of my cook. Here, let me put some on your plate." And Mama Lu would put a heaping teaspoon on her own plate, and then pop it into her own little anxious mouth. Or, "Dolly, you may have a Nabisco. Here it is." And Mama Lu would reach over for a Nabisco. "Now don't eat it too quickly." Bite 1. "Don't sprinkle crumbs all over your dress." Bite 2. "Do you have much trouble in keeping your children clean, Miss Maud?" Bite 3. "However do you manage with help?" Bite 4. and so on till the Nabisco was safely down. Once, I mustn't forget, Mamma Lu forced a crumb of biscuit between Maud's lips. Maud always had her mouth open. It's very unhealthful, and poked it down with a pin. And Maud whispered to me just an hour ago, while Mamma Lu was undressing her for bed, that it had reached her throat and was tickling her dreadfully. Another time, Mamma Lu insisted on reaching a spoonful of tea over to Gladys, and I was so afraid that it would be spilled over the pretty pink dress that she wore. I couldn't help but crying out, "Gladys, Gladys, please be careful of my dress." "Your dress indeed," snapped Gladys. "Since when, I'd like to know?" But she felt pretty much ashamed of herself when she caught Maud's eye upon her. Maud is so very refined. I couldn't help feeling embarrassed too, for it really was not polite of me to call across the table so excitedly. Of course, I had never had any experience before at tea parties, and didn't know just how to behave. By the time that only 1 cup of grape tea, 3 5 o'clocks, and 2 Nabiscos were left on the table, Mamma Lu was looking rather uncomfortable, and I was getting rather bored. Not so much fun at this tea party, I was thinking. I expected games and such things. I wished something would happen. And then, when I was 3/4 through my yawn, Nurse came in with a great bottle of cough medicine. "Now you've got to take it. You can't get out of it. No nonsense now, Miss Lu, or I'll tell your mamma," she said, and held out a spoonful to Mamma Lu. Really, my mamma was naughty just then. Instead of quietly swallowing the stuff, and even licking the corners of her lips afterward, to be sure not to lose a drop, and then saying, "Thank you ever so much, dear nurse. It was so kind of you to think of me, and I do hope that my cold will be better tomorrow, as I'm sure other little girls do." She jumped up from her chair and raced around the room crying, "I won't take it! No, I won't! I won't! It's mean of you to come and spoil my tea party! Go and take it yourself! I won't, so there!" Well, Mamma Lu! Maud and Glads looked at me, and I looked at Glads and Maud. Well, Mamma Lu! I never! It was all over in a few minutes. Of course, Nurse caught her and made her swallow it, and she was far more patient with Mamma Lu than Mamma Lu would have been with me if I had been so naughty. When she left the room, there was silence for a few minutes, while Mamma Lu sulked in a chair, and we 3 dolls just sat and looked at her. "You've had too much tea party," I thought. "That banana hash has put you in a bad temper. Please don't eat banana hash anymore, Mamma Lu." She must have known that I was thinking of her, for suddenly she looked straight into my eyes. "Was that a cough I hear?" she asked very severely. "Dolly, you're getting copy." She carried me over to the couch next to the window and set me up against the cushions. "Oh, how you are frightening me," she said. "But I suppose it's nothing but too much tea party." This to me, and I hadn't had a bite. "I was surprised at the way you gobbled that banana hash, but I didn't want to say anything before company. That's what you get for being greedy, Dolly. I expected better things from you. Now you'll take your cough medicine like a lady." Like a lady, Dolly, without a word. The nurse had forgotten to take the cough syrup out with her, and Mamma Lu got a large glass cup and half filled it from the bottle. "I'm giving you my own very cough medicine, so you must try to get well as soon as you can," she said, kneeling down beside me. "Wait, I'll tie a napkin around you to be sure that you don't dirty your dress. Now don't sputter when I give it to you. Ugh, what an awful croak that last cough was." An awful croak? I could no more make a sound that her eyes were delicate enough to hear than she could fly. I certainly do not understand my mamma sometimes, and once in a while she makes me angry. She poured the bitter stuff over the right corner of my chin, because my mouth is always tightly closed, and not a drop could get in, until it dripped down over the napkin on my dress and on the cushions, and I knew that the skin on the right side of my chin would be ruined, and that Nurse would scold her for soiling the couch. She really is careless. Then she stood up, shook a finger at me. I do not think that fingers were meant to be shaken, and said warningly, "Now keep very quiet, and don't get excited, and when my companies go home, I'll undress you and put you to bed." All alone on the couch, I had to watch her laughing and acting grown up with Gladys and Maud, and I just couldn't keep myself from complaining. Why, oh why does she just choose me to have a cough? I'm perfectly healthy. I wonder if she'll ever lock me up as she did Teddy Bear. Poor Teddy Bear. But I don't think that he can be more miserable than I was then. And worst of all, I felt myself getting dreadfully angry at my mamma. All at once, I heard a few cheep cheeps outside the window. Now who's that? I thought, very much excited. Can that be Ted? Of course not. His voice would be deeper, and how could he get outside? I do hope that nobody will see me. I'm so glad that the cushions hid me. Who knows what opinion people would have of me if they saw that merry crowd over there, and me here, all alone. Cheep, cheep, went the sound again, swelling into dust. Oh, it must be the sparrows that Maud was telling me about, I thought. Well, isn't that lovely? I'll be able to hear every word, and Maud says that their conversation is so interesting. I had forgotten all my troubles and was awfully excited. I certainly do like the excitement. They haven't been there since the Friday before I came, and I was so afraid that I'd never meet them. Oh, but I listened carefully. There she is, said a young voice. They were mother and son, Maud told me. There's the dear little girl that warmed up our stomachs with her own nice hot burned toast 2 weeks ago, when we were making a very, very light and chilly breakfast of snow. She is a dear, answered an older voice. See how she's laughing now, son? I'm sure she never has a sulky moment. You should have seen her 15 minutes ago, I thought. What is she eating? Went on the first. It looks good. If she knew that we were here, she'd surely give us some, said the second. Would she? I thought. I'm not sure of that. Dear me, but I was angry at Mama Lou. Still, I hardly think it would be fair to take it away from her. But I'm hungry, whimpered the younger voice, and it's so hard to live after the autumn. I wished we'd get in the habit of going down south for the winter. All our relatives do. Now, don't grumble. If you really want something to eat, I'll try to attract her attention. You can help me. And cheep, cheep, they piped together in a strong duet. I peeped over at the tea table. Just one Nabisco and a 5 o'clock tea were left. Mama Lou was just lifting the 5 o'clock tea for a little nibble when she heard the cheeps and looked towards the window. It's those poor birds again, she cried, and jumped from her chair in a flash. Maybe they're hungry. Shall I give them our 5 o'clock tea, Maudie? But we want the Nabisco for ourselves, don't we? And then her face got red. Oh, I'm a greedy, selfish thing, she cried. You poor little birdies! She opened the window very softly, so as not to frighten the sparrows, crumbled biscuits on the sill, and just so softly closed the window. Then she tiptoed with Gladys and Maud over to the end of the room. They'll like their tea party much better if no one's watching them eat, she whispered. I wish I had some banana hash left. I'm sure they'd have enjoyed that. Shh, Dolly, now don't cough. I'll bring you over here too, but you're so smudgy that I don't like to touch you. You're always smudgy. No, my mama does not love me. Oh, if only I were a bird. She is always blaming me and scolding me for nothing, and has no consideration for my feelings. I don't think it's fair. But anyhow, at that moment, when I heard the sharp little pecks of the sparrow's beak at the delicious crumbs and the fluttering of their wings against the panes, I loved and felt very proud of my Mama Lou. End of chapter 2. Chapter 3 of The Diary of a Birthday Doll by Ethel DOW. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Oh, Teddy Bear is stuck up, and I do hate stuck-up people. I don't see anyhow why he thinks such a lot of himself, but he really is handsome. I caught a glimpse of him about an hour ago when Mama Lou took him out of the trunk. He has a lovely white coat of fur, a pink nose, and pink overcoat. Oh, do I like pink. His eyes are a lovely color and have so much expression. They remind me of a great deal of the brown buttons on Mama Lou's tan slippers. Well, he's out at last, and I hope he behaves himself and stays out. Oh, I oughtn't to have said that in such a snappy way. Of course he'll behave himself. I'm sure that it's not his fault that Mama Lou is so severe with him. Doesn't she treat me, too, as if I were a naughty child, though I'm trying so hard to be good? Didn't she this very morning say to me, "You give me more trouble than Maud and Gladys, and all my other children put together ever did. Now you've just gotten out of the dangerous cough, and I'm very much afraid that you'll get some other sickness. You look feverish." She put her hand on my head, then said, "Dear, dear, I do hope it will be nothing serious. Perhaps you'll be better by the time I come back from school. Yes, you must be better, Dolly, or I'll think you very naughty. You really do give me more trouble." Now, it was sweet of Mama Lou to be so careful about my health, but I don't want to be fussed over when I know I'm perfectly well, and she surely needn't have made that unkind remark about my being more trouble, etc. Mama Lu wouldn't like it, I'm sure, if Grandma Ellis would say to her, every time she sneezed, "You're the biggest bother, Lucy." Little girls often do not think what they are saying. Mama Lu went to school today after Nurse had had a very hard time dressing her. Gladys said that it was because she didn't want to go back to school, but I can hardly believe that. Then I lay back and thought about the big family Mama Lu had had, 10 children before me, and only Maud and Gladys left of all the big crowd. Dear me, that's sad and scary too. Maud, I always feel like calling her Miss Maud because she is so dignified, but she told me at once that it would be very foolish for sisters to be so stiff, that I must call her simply Maud. She is so very sweet, Maud is. Well, Maud told me the other day that she is the oldest of all of them. When she came, Mama Lu was only a year old. Oh, she must have been a pretty baby, and very young indeed, to be the mother of a great little girl like Maud. Mama Lu is 7 years old now, so really my oldest sister isn't so very young anymore, though she doesn't look a day older than I. And I am sure she keeps her age well, because she has been petted and kissed and made happy all her life. Not like, well, I don't intend to complain. 6 came before Gladys, 1 rubber, 3 rag, a set. Uncle Harry again. I do wish Mama Lu had them now. Rag dolls are so nice and friendly, not a bit stuck up, and always up to fun. Then there were 2 bisque, like me, and 1 china. The last one was very delicate, Maud said. She got giddy the very first day that she came into the family, fell out of Mama Lu's arms, and smashed into... Maud didn't seem to count the pieces carefully, but she thinks that the number she reached was 231. Gladys came next. She was wax, like Maud, and Maud told me that Gladys was the first real friend she had. Such friends as they are now. Maud is like a mother to Gladys, and Gladys is simply devoted to Maud. They are both very kind to me, but I just feel that I can never be really in with them. They seem to take to each other right away, and never quarrel. Before Gladys came, Maud used to be awfully lonely at night sometimes, when Mama Lu had forgotten to put her to sleep. I simply couldn't make friends with those other dolls, she told me last Monday in our long talk. They didn't know how to behave, especially the rag dolls. I'll never forget the awful noise they used to make every night. And dirty! I was certainly glad when Grandma Ellis took them away from Mama Lucy. Maud always calls our Mama Lu Mama Lucy. When Maud told me this, I kept quiet as to my feelings toward rag dolls, because I was afraid that she would think badly of my taste. But I had grown a little more independent in the last 2 days, and besides, was awfully anxious to know whether there was any chance of their coming back. So I said quite suddenly, about 2 hours after Mama Lu had gone off to school, "Whatever became of those 3 rag dolls you were talking about, Maud? Heard anything about them lately? What did Mama Lu do with all her broken down children anyway? The 6 before Gladys and the 2 before us. Do you know, Maud?" At first, there was no answer. Maud and Gladys, too, seemed mighty uncomfortable. At last, Maud said, very slowly, and in a queer voice, "As for those common rag dolls, they were most likely thrown into the ash barrel." "Oh, the poor things," I explained, "and maybe are turned into bits of paper now. Just what Mama Lucy does with the higher classes, like you and Glads and me." Now, wasn't it sweet of Maud to include me? I am not sure. Gladys and I sometimes imagine that we know. But we don't want you to question us, because we are not certain we are right. It is an unpleasant subject anyhow, and makes me feel chilly. Maybe when you're a little older, Dolly dear. And then she stopped. I hope that I'm mannerly enough to not insist upon a disagreeable subject, so I just murmured, "Oh, certainly," as politely as I could, and pretended to doze off. Of course, I was just burning with curiosity. Heaps of things for me to learn, yet, I thought, oh, if only Teddy would speak, I'm sure he could teach me lots. But I had made up my mind not to call him again, and I simply wouldn't. Very soon Mama Lu came home from school, and then I had no more time for thinking. "Hello, Gladys. Hello, Maudie. Well, Dolly, how are you feeling?" "A little better, I think. Your cough is gone, and you have no more fever," she said. You've been a good child and deserve a dress, a nice new dress, all your own. I believe I'll make it for you this afternoon." Dear me, but I was glad. "Pink, make it pink," I prayed. She measured the breadth of my chest and the length of my arms with a piece of string. 38 inches and 21. "Yes, ma'am," she said. Goodness, I didn't know I was big as all that. I could hardly believe it. I'm sure Mama Lu made a mistake. "I'll make it in my mama's room because her work basket is in there," she went on. "And I believe I'll take Gladys' pink dress with me for a pattern." She hurried out of the room, and I lay back on my bed perfectly delighted. Gladys seemed a little out of the humor though, and Maud was rather quiet. Never mind, I thought. I'll loan my dress to them sometimes. I wonder how many more I'll get. In less than 5 minutes, Mama Lu came back with a pink Mother Hubbard exactly like Gladys, excepting that there was no frills at the neck and sleeves. Oh, it's sweet, I thought, though maybe I was just the least bit disappointed about the frills. A touch of white at the throat, you know. "Here you are," she cried. "Here's your dress, your nice new dress. Do you like it, Dolly?" And then she laughed out loud and kissed Gladys. A whole new dress with sleeves and tucks and hem and skirt and buttonholes, and such neat little buttonholes. In less than 5 minutes. My Mama Lu is certainly a wonder, but I don't see why she had to kiss Gladys so, all of a sudden, and such mean things that dolls say sometimes. All the while Mama Lu was talking off the sweet little blue that I wore yesterday to the tea party, and dressing me in pink that jealous Gladys was grumbling. "It's my dress, and I don't think I've been treated fairly. I don't mind lending it for a while, but I do not want to give it away altogether. It just makes me feel bad to see all that pretty lace torn off, and I don't see why she couldn't have kept it on. She needn't think that she can fool me. I guess I can recognize my own dress, lace or no lace." At first, I wasn't going to pay attention to her remarks. I thought that Maud would settle her, but Maud was looking rather queer too, and didn't say a word. So then I just fired up. "How can you talk so, Gladys? Didn't my mama, and she is my mama, remember, is just as yours and is going to like me too, just as well as someday? And didn't she say that it was a new dress? A new dress? Anyhow, I'd like to know why I can't get a new dress once in a while, as well as you." "Because the third girl in a family hardly ever gets new dresses," snapped Gladys. "And at present, you're the third in the family. Besides, just look at that spot on the hem. You've seen that spot before. You know you have. And Mama Lu said, your nice new dress, not a new dress. It's new to you, though it's old to me. Oh, I don't care. The lace was all worn out, and I was sick of the old thing anyway." And then she began to whisper to Maud, "I just won't believe it. So there, my dress is a new one, a brand new one. And it was very clever of my mama to sew it so quickly. I don't quite understand, though, why she didn't bring back with her Gladys' pink Mother Hubbard that she took out for a pattern. Some things are so very queer. Now, you're only a baby yet, and I don't think you keep your dresses very clean," Mama Lu said to me as soon as I was dressed. "So I believe I'll make you wear an apron." She rummaged in the box in which she had kept the girls' clothes, of which there were heaps, until she picked out a simple little pinafore without a bit of trimming. "Now this will do very nicely," she said, as she slipped the pinafore on me and trimmed it to fasten it. "Oh my, the lower button is off. I couldn't put an apron with a button off on my child, or I'd teach it to be untidy, and that would never do." She ran off again and came back with Grandma's work basket, settled herself comfortably in a chair, with her feet on a footstool, just as she must have seen her mamma do, placed me flat on my stomach on her lap, till I expected my eyes to drop out on the floor any second, and began to sew on my new apron. After the 4th stitch, it must have been the 4th, because my skin had been pricked 4 times, she rested for a minute and said out loud, "Now maybe I should have waited until Mama had come back home, because then I could have gotten a button, but I guess this will do just as well." And after 18 stitches, or at least 18 pricks, she gave me a little tap on the back and said, Now you've all right, Dolly. I've sewed your apron up nice and tight, and you can't possibly get out of it unless I take the thread out of you. It's much safer than a button. Gladys burst out laughing. Oh, but I was angry. And I said as haughtily as could be, I am perfectly satisfied with any style of apron I said my mother instead of my mamma to sort of scare her, chooses for me, and I don't see what on earth you are laughing at, Miss Gladys. Maud said, shh, and looked surprised. But I didn't feel sore on account of the needle pricks, I guess. And, oh, it's so babyish to be sewn up in an apron, just like a sausage, and wouldn't stop for anybody. Mama Lou put us to bed, though, right away, and that settled the argument. Let's see, did anything else of importance happen? What a joke! I'm pretending to forget, when all the while, I'm so delighted that all the sausage aprons in the world couldn't put me in a bad temper tonight. Just after supper, Mama Lou came into the nursery again, and without saying a word to us about it, she would have done so, I'm sure, if she had known how much we care. He's sort of a relation anyway. She unlocked the trunk in which Teddy was imprisoned, and took him out, dusted him off, and looked at him, dusted again, and then put him under the bed. Now, just you take care of the girls, she said. See that nothing happens to them, and maybe, if you're very brave, I'll make you a sergeant. Maud and Gladys have been sound asleep since at least 4 o'clock, so they don't know anything about it. Oh, don't I wish it were morning, so that I could tell them the good news. We are all interested in Teddy, and so sorry for him. Poor teddy bear, how glad he must be to get his freedom again. I wonder how it felt in that narrow trunk. If I weren't afraid he wouldn't answer me, I'd ask him what he did to make Mama Lou cross with him. Then I'd be careful not to do it. If he'd be only a little more sociable, we could have such nice long talks together in the night. He's not a sleeper, and I'm sure he's clever. Maybe he knows what becomes of Mama Lou's broken dolls. Wouldn't that be grand? Oh, Teddy, Teddy! No, I won't call him. I said I wouldn't, and I won't. But oh, I do wish it were morning so that I could tell the girls the good news. End of chapter 3. Chapter 4 of The Diary of a Birthday Doll by Ethel DOW. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Thursday, March the 21st, 1907. Thursday, March the 21st, 1907. That's all I can do. Repeat over and over to myself. Thursday, March the 21st, 1907. Thursday, March the 21st, 1907. I shall never forget this day. Never, never. For today is the day that my heart was broken. Just broken. Broken into at least as many pieces as that delicate china doll's body broke into when she fell out of Mama Lou's arms. I wish I could stop thinking of my terrible trouble, for the pain of it is more than I can endure. Pain in mind where I can't catch hold of what is paining. That's because of all the public disgrace, and pain in the body where it hurts when I touch. And that's because of the hairbrush. Everyone must be sleeping now. It's late. I guess they're dreaming, but no one would ever dream that a poor little doll, still nameless, is lying awake. So miserable. Mama Lou is sleeping in the room next to this. Do you remember, you poor little doll, that when you first came here, not so very long ago, either, though it seems an age, you used to imagine that some night you'd get into that room with Mama Lou and rest in her white little bed, on her nice little pillow, hugged tight in her soft pink arms. Maud and Gladys told me last Monday that they've slept with Mama Lou. Lots of times, and they prefer their own beds. Gladys even said that it's mighty uncomfortable to be squeezed as tight as Mama Lou squeezes in her sleep. I knew, though, that they simply couldn't appreciate their great good fortune, and I thought that perhaps, if I'm very good and patient, maybe just once Mama Lou might. I've tried so hard, and now it's all over. She just never seemed to care for me, that's all. Only once did she kiss me goodnight, and she was always saying I was sick or untidy. Today, though, has just crushed me altogether. Thursday, the 21st of March, 1907. Thursday, the 21st of March, 1907. How did it all come about? How did it all come about? The day started well enough. Mamma Lu came in as usual before going off to school, and woke Maud and Gladys with a kiss. She didn't kiss me, but I tried not to care. I'm used to that already. And anyhow, I could see that she was beginning to think it unfair to leave me out, for she explained quickly, "Don't forget that you're on trial for a week, Dolly, and that's why I must be strict with you. You've got such staring eyes, I'm awfully afraid that you're stubborn and maybe mischievous, and I want to see just what sort of girl you are before I name you." She even petted me under the chin just before she left. As soon as the girls were awake, I told them the good news about Teddy Bear. Weren't they delighted, though? And oh, the fun Gladys and I had all morning. Maud is so very dignified, she wouldn't join us, but she couldn't even help smiling. We laughed so much. There lay Teddy under the bed, never opening his mouth, and we two girls were making the funniest remarks at him all morning. Of course, we didn't mean to hurt his feelings because we all liked him. But oh, the fun we had! Once I said, "I'm sure he's lost his tongue. Don't you think so, Glad?" And I thought we'd die of laughing. And Gladys, she's rather clever and snappy, said, "I bet something happened to it in the trunk. Now I remember when Mamma Lu locked Master Theodore in." Oh, she pronounced his name too funny for anything. He cried out, "Oh, my tongue! My tongue is caught on the keyhole!" Don't you remember it too, Maud? I was just shrieking, but Maud spoiled the fun a little by saying, "Now you know it's not true." Gladys and I'm sure that I wouldn't make remarks about a young man who wouldn't talk to me. She said this quite loud, and then she coughed. I'm positive she was waiting for Teddy to say, "That's the way to talk, Miss Maud," but he didn't. I'm sure he didn't like it, for it certainly doesn't make you angry to talk to a person without being able to attract his attention. Well, the fun lasted till Mamma Lu came home from school. I'll never laugh again, I'm sure. Never, never. I noticed at once that she was moving her jaws in a very queer way from the right side to the left, and from the left back to the right. I thought at first that she was eating something, but for about 2 minutes, she kept chewing and looking down at us without a word. And of course I knew that Mamma Lu couldn't keep on chewing one little mouthful of food for so long without swallowing it. Right away Maud sniffed and said, "Pepsin," and Gladys, "Wintergreen, I think." And I said, "Girls, what do you mean?" Then Maud looked quite stern and said, very severely, "Mamma Lucy is doing something that is very naughty. She is chewing gum, and her mamma has forbidden her to do it. Expressly forbidden her. I've heard it myself." "But she wouldn't do anything that her mamma has told her not to do," I gasped. "Don't ask me to believe that of my Mamma Lu, Maud." "It's only true. Today must be one of her naughty days. She gets them once in a while. I don't know whether I'm glad or sorry that Grandma Ellis is not home again today. It would make her feel so sad to see her Lucy disobeying her, and I'm sure that she would be very angry. But then, Mamma Lucy deserves to be punished for being disobedient, and I am afraid she won't confess. See how crooked her mouth looks already? Because of that horrid stuff. She must have gotten it in school, from Winnie Campbell. I never did like that girl. I was so shocked that I couldn't say a word, and just stared straight into Mamma Lu's eyes as she bent over us. Chewing just as fast as she could, she picked me up and held me at arm's length from her, and said, "First a cough," pause for a chew, "then a fever," another chew, "and now I've just got to take you to the eye doctor." 3 quick chews. "You must have something wrong with your eyes. I've never seen a doll with such queer look as you have." No, very likely not, Mamma Lu, I thought. Very few dolls are unfortunate enough to have accidents before they are complete. If I don't attend to your trouble while you're young, you may go blind, Dolly. She looked sad for a moment, then clapped her hands, laughed, and went on chewing. "Oh, wouldn't that be just lovely?" she cried. "A blind doll! I'll tell Winnie Campbell about it tomorrow." So it was Winnie. "Come on, Dolly, you poor blind child. You must have an operation right away. You're awfully sick. Here, I guess I'll undress you for the operation." Dear me, I was scared. While she was ripping out the thread that fastened up my apron, although I was glad to be rid of that babyish thing, I was trembling all over. It is just possible that I was nervous because I was so shocked that she had disobeyed her mother. She sat down in a chair and laid me, dressed only in a chemise, face up on her legs. I think 5 shoes that time. I counted them. "Then I'll pick your eyes out, Dolly, and then examine them to see what's wrong with them. If they're all right, I'll stick them back again. And if they're not, why, you'll just have big black holes for eyes and be my poor blind child. Won't you be glad, Dolly?" Well, hardly. I was half fainting with terror. "Now, lie still and be good. I won't hurt you, and it's got to be done." She put one hand under the right and one hand under the left side of my head and pressed a thumb as hard as she could upon each eye. Maud and Gladys shrieked. I believe that I fainted, for I remember nothing till, "I can't do it. Goodness, your eyes are strong." Mama Lou was grumbling. "I'll have to leave them in. They're fixed so tight." Oh, but mucilage is a faithful friend that sticks to you forever. The danger was over. Mama Lou carried me back to bed, and it was sweet after my dreadful experience to receive the congratulations that Gladys and Maud poured in on me upon my lucky escape. Mama Lou, meanwhile, sat on a chair and began to play with her gum. What didn't she do with it? She rolled it into circles, then cut it into squares and diamonds with her sharp little teeth, pulled it into tangible masses of thread, rolled it up again into a ball, and popped it into her mouth. It made me sick. I could just understand why her mama had forbidden her to chew gum. At last her conscience began to prick her. "Mama would be so angry if she saw me, wouldn't she?" she said so solemnly. "I wonder why I'm so naughty today. But Winnie Campbell coaxed me so hard, I just had to take a piece. And anyhow, Mama didn't tell me not to chew chewing gum. She said to me, 'Now, Lucy, I don't want you ever to buy any chewing gum.' You remember, don't you, Maudie? That's just what she said. 'I don't want you to buy any.' And I didn't. I got it as a present." "Oh, the sly child," Maud cried. "She knows quite well what her mama meant. Did you ever? Well, today is certainly one of her naughty days. See what she tried to do with you, you poor Dolly. And she'll be up to more mischief today, I'm sure." I couldn't get as vexed as Maud could, but I did feel mighty sorry. "Poor Mama Lou," I said to myself. "So you're a naughty child. Isn't that sad? Who would ever have thought it? You look so sweet." "I'm gonna read you some Mother Goosies." Mama Lou jumped up suddenly. "Maud, you're too old for them. You may stay in bed. But Gladys and Dolly are going to get out and listen." She tied a little white bonnet on Gladys' head and sat her down on the chair. Then she lifted me up and sat me down in another. Imagine how embarrassed I felt. Gladys dressed like a lady in a white and pink, and me with only a narrow chemise on, and yesterday's pink ribbon in my hair. Gladys sat beautifully, like a lady, but I was never very good at sitting. My joints weren't made that way. And feeling as embarrassed as I did, I was exceptionally clumsy. Mama Lou was just asking, "Who killed Cock Robin?" in an awfully stern voice, and frowning at me as if she thought maybe I had done it. Though indeed, I had never seen Mr. Robin in my life, when I heard a bright cheep cheep at the window. At first, I thought it was Cock Robin come back to life to accuse me. I'm so scary. But at once, I remembered the sparrows again. Of course. I'm sure I blushed to have perfect strangers see me dressed like that. The idea! And I was praying praying that Mama Lu would stop reading and slip me back into bed, when, just how it happened, I don't know, but maybe I was stretching my neck the least bit to hear what the sparrows were saying, or maybe I was dizzy yet from my awful experience, but all of a sudden I fell flat, over on my side, and bumped my head real hard against the floor. I had just time to catch one glimpse of Teddy under the bed. He was looking at me very kindly. He has awfully nice brown eyes. And then I heard the slamming of a book. I was caught up roughly and shaken and shaken. "You naughty child! Won't you behave?" cried Mama Lu in a very angry voice. "You're the worst child I've ever had." And another shake, and another. Oh, those sparrows on the tree, how surprised they look. "I'm going to give you a lesson, once and for all," she continued. "I will not have such behavior in my family." She reached out for a great big hairbrush that was on the dressing table near her. A hairbrush. I thought stupidly, oh. I was all dazed. What does she want with a hairbrush? My hair must be untidy, and I guess she's going to comb me. Yet I trembled. "I will not have it," she went on, more and more excited. "Winnie Campbell knows how to make her children behave. She told me how today, and I'm just going to take her advice." With a quick movement, she laid me over her knee, face downward, rolled up my chemise, raised the hairbrush, and no, I cannot repeat the rest. I cannot. Maud and Gladys were sobbing softly when she carried me back to the bed, and there was a heavy breathing through the room. It might have come from Teddy Bear. I could not say a word. I was bruised and stiff from my ribs to my knees. It was such a large hairbrush, and she had used the bristly side part of the time. And then the disgrace, the awful shame of being pressed down tight till I couldn't move, and then publicly spanked with a hairbrush before Maud and Gladys and Ted and the two other sparrows. My heart was broken. Yes, my heart was broken. I felt that I could no longer look at anyone in the face. So dreadfully had I been disgraced. If it had only been on my shoulder or on my face, anywhere but where it was, and before so many people. I lay quite still in my misery. Soon the heavy breathing stopped. Maud and Gladys ceased their soft sobbing, and Mama Lu, cruel Mama Lu, sat in a corner and chewed sulkily. I thought that the sparrows had flown away. There was no sound outside the window. "I don't care," she exclaimed suddenly. "I don't care if I heard a whole lot. She's a bad child, very disobedient." "I disobedient, Mama Lu? Then what are you?" "Oh, I hate this chewing gum," she said, jumping up quickly. "Here, you naughty child." She ran over to me and stuck the little round ball on the palm of one of my hands. This sticky mass. Pah! Take good care of it and try to be a better girl. Gladys, get back to bed. You're naughty too. She bundled us all up together in a sheet, looked at us, said, "I don't care," several times, then half crying, "Oh, I do wish Mama were home, but she won't be till tomorrow. Oh, Mama," and she rushed out of the room. Silence again. Then suddenly, outside, the voice of an old sparrow. Ah, then they hadn't been gone. Cheep, cheep. I am just struck speechless with astonishment, and it takes a good bit to make a sparrow dumb, I can tell you. What a disappointment! Did I see and hear all right, my son, or am I dreaming? "No, Mama, your eyes are very good yet," answered the young sparrow sadly. "But I myself can hardly believe that that little girl is always so good to us, and whom we both admire so, can have such a bad temper. I've made up my mind that we'll take nothing more from her, son," said the mother very excitedly. "A child that can beat a sweet little doll in such a heartless way is not the sort of little girl I want to take favors from. I have some pride, though I am in rather poor circumstances just at present. Don't you agree with me, son?" "Yes, Mama, of course. But what if we're very hungry?" asked the younger sparrow weakly. "We'll be taken care of." He that guards young ravens, and he knew who that is, will look after 2 little sparrows too, was the answer. I've a good mind to go and tell her mother of how she behaved. Oh, please don't, Mama. Promise me that you won't. I never did think that it's fair for birds to go sneaking around windows just to be able to tell mothers what their children do. It seems so underhand. Begging your pardon, Mom. Besides, you can tell that she's sorry already, and don't forget how good she's been to us. Promise, promise. Well, since you seem to be very anxious, I won't. But really. And then I heard the rustling of their wings as they flew away. Their sympathy was soothing. So were Maud's and Gladys' sobbing and Ted's heavy breathing. But anyhow, I'll never be happy again. I know I never will. The girls have been awake all night. They've been lying close to me, lovingly, and too kind to say a word, for fear they might wound my feelings. Once Gladys whispered, very low, "Dolly, did it hurt very much?" And a gruff voice from beneath the bed commanded, "Keep quiet, can't you?" Do you think she likes to be asked impertinent questions? It was Ted. Poor Gladys shrunk back, terrified, and hasn't opened her mouth since. Poor Gladys! I know she didn't mean any harm. I wish that Mama Lou had put the girls to bed properly. They're not used to lying awake all night. Poor Mama Lou! Why were you so naughty today? You've made me burn all over with shame. Mama Lou! Oh, will I never forget? And that calamity mass of gum is just paralyzing my hand all night long. I'm repeating, Thursday the 21st of March, 1907. Thursday the 21st. End of chapter 4. Chapter 5 of The Diary of a Birthday Doll by Ethel DOW. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. I suppose I ought to be feeling even worse than I felt yesterday, considering what has happened to me today. But somehow, in spite of everything, I'm a bit easier in mind. I wonder why. Maybe I'm getting to be like Teddy, dear good-natured Teddy, who says that he never lets him feel discouraged anymore. Now, Dolly, honor bright, are you really so awfully sorry that dreadful accident happened to you today? Honor bright, remember. Well, honor bright. I can't say that I am, even though the accident may have very sad consequences, for without it to smooth the way, Teddy might never have talked to me. He's so very proud. It's so nice to know that you've got a friend, a good, sensible friend, to give you advice once in a while, and to tell you that your hair is naturally curly, as Teddy told me. I wish Mama Lou had such a friend. I'm sure that Winnie Campbell isn't, or else she wouldn't make my mama disobey her mama. But how did it happen that you and Teddy got speaking, dear Dolly? How funny! Such a very serious accident had happened to me, and yet I don't seem to care. I really don't understand myself at all. Come on, answer yourself, Dolly. Well, at 6 o'clock this morning, I was hoping and praying that Mama Lou wouldn't come into the nursery before she went to school. I just couldn't bear the idea of seeing her. I trembled at the thought of hearing her say, "Well, naughty girl, how are you this morning? Now be good." When I knew it was too late for her to come in, I sighed with relief. I was just so tired of being scolded. I suppose she'll be in about 2:30, I thought. Well, I can't help that. Maybe I won't be feeling so bad by that time anyhow. The time passed very slowly. Maud and Gladys spoke only 3 times, and then in whispers. They were afraid to say a word to me. They thought I wanted to nurse my sorrow in silence. That's quite true, and I still felt dreadful about the disgrace and all that. But oh, I did want to speak, just a little. And I couldn't, because it wouldn't have looked at all proper for me, and who had suffered so much, to begin talking about everyday matters without being coaxed into conversation. Maybe we can just begin talking naturally when Mama Lou comes home again, I thought. If only she won't be cruel to me again. 2 o'clock passed. I looked anxiously at the door, half eager for her to come, half afraid. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Once I heard the trotting of her little feet in the hall, a pause before the nursery door, and then a frantic rush. No Mama Lu yet. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. How could Maud and Gladys lie there so perfectly, unconcerned when Mama Lu might never come back to us anymore? And so good as she had been to them? Maybe they weren't unconcerned. Maybe they were just trying hard not to reproach me, because it was through me. When it was almost dark, the nurse came in to light the gas. Mama Lu was with her. Just before they went out, she gave us one quick glance and then turned her head away. Oh, but I was frightened. She'll never come back again, I know it, I cried out loud. I guess it was naughty of me to fall out of my chair. Oh, Mama Lu, please come back. Don't be cross at Maud and Gladys anyhow. They haven't done anything wrong. Mama Lu, Mama Lu! I screamed at the top of my voice, but of course she couldn't hear me. Then, oh dear, he always knows exactly what to say and when to say it. I heard the dear gruff voice from under the bed. Don't worry, she'll come back, before bedtime even. I wonder what the girls thought of that. I was the only one he had ever said a word to. I nudged Maud and then whispered, "Thank you ever so much. Do you really think so?" Of course I didn't get an answer. Ted doesn't like unnecessary questions. Just before going to bed, exactly like he said, Mama Lu came into the nursery. She was half undressed. Her shoes were in one hand and her dress in the other. "I just couldn't go to bed without seeing how you are," she whispered to me, very low. "Dolly, are you cross with me? Look, I brought you a present." She drew off my old pink ribbon and pinned a pretty blue bow in my hair, naturally curled. She lifted me very carefully out of bed, and just as I was safe in her arms, I felt the queerest kind of pulling pain in my left knee joint. Something dropped with a clatter to the floor, and my left leg felt sort of light and airy. "What was that?" asked Mama Lu anxiously. And then she gave a scream. I peeped down. Horrors! There was my left leg from the knee down, lying just at Mama Lu's feet. At that terrifying sight, I completely had lost control of myself. Really, I had an excuse in my dreadful experience of the day before and sent out shriek after shriek. First a broken heart, and now a broken leg. I screamed, "Oh! Oh! Oh!" And Maud and Gladys joined me at the top of their voices, and the top of their voices is very high up. "A broken leg! Oh! Oh! Oh!" And Teddy under the bed growled again and again in such a deep, angry voice. "A broken leg! Poor little girl! Well, isn't that a shame?" The combination was simply deafening. Even though I knew that little girls' ears are not nearly delicate enough to hear the loudest noises that dolls make, yet I was rather surprised that Mama Lu didn't seem to hear a sound. I'd have just loved her to know how much my friends care for me. Perhaps it was because she was so dreadfully scared and excited. She set me down on the floor, right next to that dreadful hairbrush, still lying just where she had thrown it yesterday, after, oh, don't let me think of it, and drew her slippers on in a flash. "I've got to go this minute and get my mama," she was muttering through her teeth as she tugged at her shoestring. "I know I've done it. It's my fault because of what I did yesterday." I couldn't see her, but Maud and Gladys, who had stopped screaming, were sitting up in bed, looking on, told me afterward that Mama Lu's expression at the time was pitiful. Her face was quite white, her teeth were clenched tight together, and she was swallowing all the time. I heard her rush out of the room, and the next thing I knew, I was a little dizzy, I suppose, and not quite clear to as what was happening. I was resting comfortably in Grandma Ellis's arms, and Mama Lu was standing in front of me, looking up into her mother's face with the most imploring expression, her lips pressed tight together, her eyes strained full of tears. In her right hand, she was holding up my poor leg. It certainly gives you the queerest kind of feeling to see part of your leg held up in another person's hand. "Nope. I'll do my best, Lucy," Grandma Ellis was saying doubtfully. "But," and then Mama Lu interrupted her wildly. "Mama, Mama, you must cure her. You must, or I'd never speak to myself again. Never, never. It's all my fault. Oh, Mama, you don't know." And poor Mama Lu burst into great loud sobs. "Hush, dear," said Grandma Ellis soothingly. "Your fault? Did you let her drop?" Oh, no, 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 no. I was so naughty yesterday. Look, Mama. She picked up that mean brush and held it out despairingly. I spanked her, all for nothing. So hard with this. And Mama, she wrenched off the sticky ball of gum that had been paralyzing my hand. I'd been chewing gum, though you told me not to, and I knew I was doing wrong, and I was so cranky. I spanked and just spanked. I know I broke her leg. I just know I did. Oh, I am so wicked. Mama. Poor Mama Lou. It was very sad to hear her sob so bitterly, and all because of me. I half expected Grandma Ellis to scold me for making her Lou so sad, but instead she smoothed back with my hair with the gentlest hand and said very sorrowfully, "You poor Dolly. Lucy, how could you be so cruel and so disobedient too? Go to your room at once. I don't want you in here while I'm bandaging Dolly. You've been too naughty. When you've said your prayers and are in bed, I'll come in to speak to you. Now go at once." "Mama!" cried Mama Lou imploringly as she gave one last look at me, then sobbing left the room. The girls' bed was just buzzing with their excited whisper. "I wonder if she'll be whipped," whispered Gladys busily. "I'm sure she deserves a whipping. Whip her! Whip my pretty Mama!" Oh, girls, I trembled all over the thought. "No," said Maud. Did her voice sound regretful, or was I imagining things? Grandma Ellis isn't the whipping kind. She'll only give her a talking to. I hope it will do her some good. "In my opinion," I said rather sharply, too, because Grandma Ellis was just tightening a bandage, and it hurt. I think that she had said quite enough already. She has been quite strict. Poor Mama Lou, crying there, all alone. I wish Grandma Ellis would hurry and comfort her. There was a silence for a second. Then, from under the bed, came that dear, gruff voice again. "Good for you, little girl. Isn't he awful?" I was so embarrassed, but it was sweet of him anyhow. After that, I really couldn't feel so very, very sad about the loss of my leg. And besides, I knew that Grandma Ellis was doing her best, with linen and lots of mucilage, to make me well again. When she had finished, she carried me tenderly over my bed and tucked me in at the foot. "I do hope she won't put us to sleep now. We've got so much to talk about," cried Gladys. But before the words were well out of her mouth, both she and Maud were fast asleep. There certainly are lots of inconveniences in being a sleeping doll. I felt very comfortable and looked thankfully into Grandma Ellis's eyes, beautiful eyes, just like Mama Lou's, as she leaned over us. "You little things," she murmured very tenderly. "How real you were to me once, and not so very long ago. Now I have my own naughty little doll in the next room to preach a sermon to. Poor little Lou. I'll say good night to you for her." She glanced around the room as if to make sure that no one else was looking, then bent down and kissed first Gladys, then Maud, then me, on the forehead. Oh, how sorry I was that they weren't awake to appreciate it. A real lady's kiss. Think of that. She straightened herself, half laughing, then stooped again. Something under the bed. What is it, I wonder? I heard her murmur, and when I looked up, she was holding Teddy in her arms. "You poor little fellow," she said, smoothing his pink nose. It was made of velvet, I found out later. "All by yourself under the bed. There." And she placed him gently on the quilt, right next to me. "Now, good night, all of you." She waved her hand to us, laughingly, and then there was the sweetest expression in her blue eyes. "No, Grandma Ellis, I wasn't afraid. I could tell that you wouldn't be too strict with Mama Lou." The door closed behind her. Now who's going to speak first? I wondered, very much excited. I think, and was just about to breathe, "How do you do, Teddy?" And when he said, with an admiring growl, "A sweet lady that," and of course the ice was broken. No, I cannot say that I regret my accident. We've had a delightful talk, and I've a dear good friend, and Teddy isn't one to make friends with everybody, either. For instance, he's told me that he never will be able to make up with Maud and Gladys. "Too stuck up, they are for me," he said. "I don't like that kind." I tried to tell him that he was mistaken, that they were dear, sweet girls, and very much interested in him, but he just said no, no, and wouldn't listen. I'm afraid they must have said something slighting about him when he first came. I do believe he's a little obstinate and proud, but he has no other faults, and down deep in my heart, though I know it's selfish, I don't mind very much that he doesn't care for Maud and Gladys. They've been pretty and kissed and happy all their lives. They've never been scolded and whipped and had accidents before they were completed and broken legs, and I can't help thinking that it would be only fair for somebody to like me too. Ted said that he never would answer when I called because he thought that I was most likely proud and vain like Maud and Gladys and was only making fun of him. They're not a bit, you naughty boy, I told him. Very glad he didn't know the ragdolls. He'd have been crazy over them. They're so jolly, and I do want him to like me best. When he saw that Mama Lou seemed very stern to me, he just got interested. He doesn't know to this day why Mama Lou locked him in the trunk. Just a caprice, he said. Sometimes his language is beautiful. I was right. He does know what becomes of Mama Lou's broken down children. I was asking him about the trunk when he told me. It's an awful place, that trunk is, he says. I was sick for a week when I got there. The sights you see and the sad stories you hear are enough to make your fur stand on end. Tell me some, I breathed eagerly. I love to hear sad stories. No, no, Dolly, I won't. I don't believe in making girls sad. But you can imagine, in that trunk. And his deep voice chilled me. Lie the legs and the heads and arms of all the other dolls that Mama Lou has ever had. Oh, I cried. Now I know. Then that's what becomes of them. A sudden fear seized me. Maybe tomorrow, if my leg won't stick on, Mama Lou will take me away from everybody I love and... But I wouldn't let Teddy see what a coward I am. Did you see anything of an all-China doll there? I asked. I was always interested in that China doll. I suppose it was because she was so delicate. There was a little piece of china stuck right in a corner, he said. The pieces near it said it used to be part of a doll, but it never spoke, so I'm not certain. Don't you think of it any more, Dolly. I'm rather sorry I told you. Oh, it doesn't bother me, I answered cheerfully. Poor things. They must miss you like anything. And we changed the subject. But all night, though, in the pauses of our conversations, and now near the morning, while Teddy's lying perfectly quiet next to me, as he's been doing for the last half hour, this thought, flashing across my mind, makes me shiver. Perhaps tomorrow at this time, you'll be locked up in the trunk away from Gladys and Maud and Teddy, with only odds and ends of dolls for your companions. Poor, poor doll that you are. Poor, poor Dolly. End of chapter 5. Chapter 6 of The Diary of a Birthday Doll by Ethel DOW. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Cheep, cheep. So you're back again, are you darlings? Just peep through the window and see where I am. Where else but Mama Lou's arms? Ha! Now what do you think of that? And I've been here for over 15 minutes, too. Oh, but I'm happy. Are you angry at Mama Lou yet, little sparrows? Please don't be. See how happy she's made me? And Teddy'll tell you how sweet she is. There's Teddy, that handsome young bear in the stylish pink overcoat. Now, Teddy, you know it's stylish. Never seen him before? He's my very, very best friend. I hope Maud and Gladys haven't heard me. There! Mama Lou is hiding my face under her chin, just the way I used to want her to, so I can't see those cute little sparrows anymore, to tell them how happy I am, but I can tell myself over and over again. I was afraid all last night that I'd be put in that horrid box, wasn't I? Oh, what a joke! Instead of that, early this morning, Mama Lou, still in her nightie, came running into my room, picked me up in her arms, and carried me off to her own dear darling bed. Oh, so warm and comfy, and lying there on her pillow, close to her, she told me the sweetest things. Only Teddy Bear is going to know what they are. Only Teddy Bear. I'll tell him tonight. when the girls are asleep and can't hear. "You poor little angel," she said. "I've been so cruel to you, so cruel. I don't see how you can forgive me, but Mama says maybe you will. I told Mama everything last night. Oh, how naughty I was to disobey her. I'll never, never chew gum again if I live to be 2,000,000 years old. And I'm never going to scold anybody anymore. And I'll never be saucy to Nurse again. Mama just explained to me last night how cruel and bad-tempered I've been to scold you all week for nothing, you poor baby. She says it shows just as much cruelty to scold things that don't understand as to scold things that do. And you do understand. I'm sure you do, you poor darling. Oh, if I could only have talked at that moment. I've been mean to Teddy Bear too, for no reason at all. But I'm just going to change all around. But Dolly, honest, I didn't mean to be so nasty. I was just making believe half the time. I really was. How's your poor leg, you angel? Does it pain you very much? And Dolly, answer me just this once, and I'll never mention it anymore. Did it hurt you very much Thursday, you know when? Mama asked me last night how I would feel if she did it to me, and then I just understood how awfully cruel I'd been. Oh, Dolly, I'm so sorry and ashamed. It's just a week since I've had you, and a mighty ugly week it's been for you. But I'll make up to you for it. Honor bright, I will. You're going to stay with me till I get real grown up, and I'll take such care of you, and when I am an old lady, I'll play with you just as much as now. Poor Dolly, you dare never have a bath. Mama says the water might open your bandages, and it's all my fault. Aren't you sorry? Oh, dreadfully. If I'd been one of those new-fashioned spring dolls, I'm sure I'd have jumped for joy. I haven't given you a name yet, have I? Oh, I've been cruel to you. Never mind, dear. I'll make up for it. I'll give you my mama's name, the prettiest name that ever lived. You are my dear, darling daughter, Mary. Mary, I repeated. Mary. To be quite frank, I must say I was a little disappointed. I would have preferred Rosamond or Gwendolyn, some rich, high-sounding name like that. Mary does seem to me so very plain. But, of course, my mama knows best, and it's a great compliment to be named after my Grandma Ellis. Anyhow, Teddy told me when I was back in bed while Mama Lou was getting dressed and eating breakfast that he had never heard a prettier name than Mary. And Maud and Gladys, Mama Lou woke them when she took me out of bed. Oh, didn't they look astonished and say it just suits me? So, I'm quite satisfied. Ted and the girls didn't speak while I was out of the room, but when I got back, we got real chummy. Ted can be so very polite when he wants to, and the girls are sweet. Though it's naughty of me to wish it, I do hope that Ted keeps on liking me best, for a time anyhow, till I get real used to being loved. Anyhow, here I am on Mama Lou's lap, perfectly happy. After breakfast, she washed my face so carefully without soap and put the prettiest little flowered nightie on me. My poor sick child, she said, you have such beautiful eyes too. And then she kissed my cheeks till Gladys cried, you'll be as white as a sheet soon. I do hope she isn't jealous. Mama Lou has been very sweet to Ted too, and I am so glad. She smoothed his velvet nose in the friendliest way, just before she took me on her lap and began to rock me. There's a beautiful artificial plant on the windowsill with 2 gorgeous red flowers. You're my poor sick child, said Mama Lou when she put it up there, and you must have flowers. Gladys and Maud say that she uses the plant sometimes as a centerpiece when she has big tea parties in winter. Oh, my dear Mama, how about last Tuesday's tea party and the cough medicine, heh? But no more of that. It's not nice of me to think of it. And oh, Mama Lou has promised me that I can sleep with her every single night, as soon as my bandage sticks tight. Mama Lou just said to me, I do believe you're going to be my favorite child, Mary. And then for a second, my heart stood still with delight. I think it must have got patched up somehow in the night. Then I remembered and cried out loud, No, Mama Lou, please don't say so. That's too much, and it wouldn't be fair to Gladys and Maud and Ted. I don't want anybody ever to feel as lonely as I have felt on the account of my Mama Lou. Please don't forget about Maud and Gladys and Ted. I hope they didn't hear her. I'm sure she didn't mean it. She's gonna love us all. All. That's what we like to see. Just such a pretty family scene. We are sure that we were mistaken last Thursday, and that this little girl before us is still the little girl we admire. Please, young Lucy, don't forget us. Spring will soon be here, and then we will sing for you our sweetest to show our appreciation of any little favors. There's a cracker on the table, see it? Which we would thankfully accept. Please don't forget us. The spring will soon be here. You cute little sparrow! Maud and Gladys are smiling at me from the bed as I go rocking up and down, up and down. Teddy is making the most comical jokes at me. I'm so afraid I'll laugh out loud. My mama loves me. She's whispering so into my ear this very second. Oh, everybody is just sweet, and I'm perfectly happy. End of chapter 6. End of The Diary of a Birthday Doll by Ethel DOW.